Welcome back. We are now going to explore the Project Muse, Project Quest questions. And these will open up for us entry points to learning about the work of art behind us. I am here with my colleagues Daniel Blackshields from the School of Economics and Ciarán Dawson from Anad na Gaeilge Labhartha, the spoken Irish language. And the three of us are members of the team that's going to bring you the postgraduate certificate in teaching and learning in higher education. And this morning we thought we might model for you what it is like to ask and answer some questions from the Project Muse Quest about the work behind us. So I'm now going to ask Dan and Ciarán this first question, which is a foundational entry point. That is to say, it is asking some of the big questions. So Dan and Ciarán, and I might start firstly with Dan. Can I ask you, Dan, what do you see in this work of art? And do you think everyone sees what you see?
Well, I suppose, Marion, this is my second time looking at this piece, and it hasn't changed. It's a very literal thing that I see first, which is rolling waves or rolling sand dunes. But where that brings me to, especially when you look at the colours, especially purple in the colour, that brings me to family. That's my daughter's favourite colour, and she loves the beach. So for me, it's family time at the beach and peace and quiet. And that's what I see. And in that case, that's quite personal. So one would assume people wouldn't see what I would see. They may see it in the initial thing, they may see the rolling waves or whatever, but then that'll bring them to their own memories. And that's the great thing about all work of art. It'll eventually bring you to your own personal space. So for me, that's my personal space when I see this.
And Ciarán, can I ask, what do you see when you look at this work of art? And do you think everyone sees what you see?
Yeah, well, when I first come up the stairs, I look and I see a piece of knitting, firstly, until I stop and look at it again. And really, I think what I see in it are the people who did it. And it really evokes to me the image of the women, particularly the women, and I don't know whether men involved in it, I would hope so, who sat and did it, and the fingers clicking. And I suppose it reminds me, we had a very old aunt who lived with us when we were growing up, and she was knitting all the time. And I suppose the house, there were days when it was quiet, and you could hear the clickety, clackety, clickety, clack. And even more so than what I could see, when I look at it, I hear the clickety clack of the needles. And again, like Dan, that's a very, very personal thing. Do other people see what I could see? I think I've been involved in education too long that I would love the world to see what I see, but no. I think it's I suppose, a very, very varied world we live in, and in a sense, that's what's represented by this piece of work. So no, I don't think everybody would see what I would see, but some would.
Do you want to add to that, Dan, about people seeing in terms of learning? As Ciarán says, perhaps we've been in the classroom too long and we see that people don't see it as we do.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very important point, and sometimes can be lost if we start seeing, learning as learning by numbers, and that everybody will learn in the same way, or that everybody will see the same thing, hear the same thing, understand the same thing when you're in the classroom. You're starting from a losing position. I mean, I think you have to respect the experience of the learner first and foremost, and realize that they will have their own way into things and they will see things differently, and you've got to try and find that, and that's your job as a teacher, to help them. Essentially, they're the learners, you're not the learner. You try to create the environment. And if you realize that something like art and the way that we see art can allow us see how personal our understanding of things can be, then if we can bring that awareness into the classroom, then it'll be a far richer learning environment for that.
So you can see already from our first question even how much conversation is generated about the piece of work and equally about the learning experience.